Hey everybody, Jewel back with another super cool astrology video. And I wanted to talk today about the composite aspect of Saturn square to Neptune in the composite chart. What we see when this goes on. But first, I wanted to give you a little update on our little friend. Look how good he looks. His little feet. He's starting to peep and eat on his own even a little bit, and he still can't walk, but I have him sitting upright and training his feet and trying to give him a chance there so he can maybe develop a little bit better as he goes and have a better chance of being mobile on his own. But if not, that's all right. I will find a way to make his life quite livable. So, the composite chart is when we have the natal charts of two people, and we put them side by side or on top of each other. That's synastry when we're comparing. Composite charts are finding the midpoints between planets, and it gives us one chart, and we can see kind of the overall picture of what goes on between two people. So when we have this particular square, it's one that is more difficult to handle. It's actually not uncommon, as pesky as it is. It's pretty common actually in the composite charts of people who actually have long-term relationships. So it really shows that a certain amount of lack lingers in the relationship, often just beneath the surface. There can be a real chronic feeling of not being satisfied by the relationship, and that can be due to several different reasons. A lot of times, one of the reasons can be that they generally lack the confidence that is needed in the fact that the relationship can or cannot make it in a long-term way. So, you know, that faith that we put into a relationship, that, you know, we're really sure that this is it or this is going to last, is not really there. And so it can cause a certain amount of not investing as we probably should be. So another way this can show up is that what the two people really desire, or their real being together, or the ideal that they're pursuing together, that can be thwarted somehow, or blocked, or you know, practical matters of life, or like keeping them from being together. So, you know, the intimacy is somehow compromised. This one can often lead to a couple feeling very pessimistic and often depressed within the relationship, because there's often a feeling of being robbed of something, or being robbed of their time together, or being robbed of the potential magic or romance that could be happening between them. So this one has a lot of perceptions attached to it. There can be, sometimes there is a real difficulty in coming together, very often. But most times they are perceiving it as worse than it actually is. So they have to very much consciously create a plan to be together, or a plan to, you know, bring the practical matters required to be together to a place that can actually be dealt with in a real way. So they really have to push through the blockages, and by being forced to consciously create, you know, it's kind of a mission statement for their relationship, they make it a clear plan of action, or a more clear way of trusting in the long-term abilities of the relationship to last. So very often, you know, the environment and the practicalities, you know, they are opposing the potential success of the relationship, because Saturn represents our ultimate success that we work for. Neptune is confusing things and things that are, nebulous or hard to pin down. Saturn is things that are not hard to pin down. Saturn doesn't like things that are unclear. Neptune is all about things that are unclear. And so when these two mix, we can find that the two people are somehow weakened by the relationship somehow. Because Saturn is that energy within us and within a couple that is really about where we're getting to. Neptune doesn't really have long-term plans for anything. And so we have to develop a mission statement that reflects reality. And it has to include where we would like to be as well. It has to include the ideal. So we can't err on one side or the other. We have to allow for, the romance in life and the what ifs to exist and the possibilities to exist. But we also have to come to a place where we understand that we may have to make some real sacrifices, and we may have to make some real changes, and we may have to really address how we have to rearrange certain elements in our lives in order to make this relationship really come together in a way that is going to be healthy for the two people. So a lot of times when we see this particular square, there can be a previous attachment that one of the people or both of the people, very often both of the people have, that is the reason why they can't practically be together. And there's also the side effect that this square can have in making the two people doubt their abilities or doubt the ways that they've come to understand their level of achievement. Because really often when we have the square, we feel a certain amount of failure or a certain amount of guilt involved in not being able to make the relationship work in a way that, where we connect on a more everyday basis, or a basis that is not, hidden or weakening or confusing. So it can cause us a lot of self-doubt. And that then kind of leads into two people feeling, doubtful about themselves. So they feel doubtful about the relationship, and they feel doubtful about each other. And so we can have some subtle accusatory behavior go on between two people because they can feel individually insecure by being in the relationship. They can take that out in, subtle biting ways with each other. Subtle blaming, saying things without saying it outright. And you got to remember that, 99% of truth is spoken in jest. And so, when somebody says, just kidding, you need to really stop to consider that and pay attention. And this is a relationship aspect that can show a lot of just kidding going on between two people, but they are subtly trying to communicate their insecurities about what's going on within it. So this aspect actually generally won't keep a relationship from forming because we see Saturn coming in after we do start into the process of relationship building. This is not one that's going to show up early in the relationship. This shows up after we Saturnize a relationship. Neptune is about the beginnings of the relationship. That's about the infatuation. Saturn is about when we really get down to the serious work of relationship building, and that's when Saturn aspects start to come in. So, I hope this was helpful. If it was, please like my video and subscribe to my channel. I will be back super soon with more super cool videos with my new apprentice here. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com. You can find me on Facebook at Truth and Aspect Astrology, where I do the daily astro weather forecasting, birthday descriptions, articles of all kinds. I specialize mainly in relationship and intimacy astrology, but I also specialize in asteroids and planetoids as well. So, I will be back very soon. I'm going to get out of the sun. Bye-bye.